two things about what we did for the first half. Number one, like the way that you show up to work is affected by like everything else in your life. And your mental approach to this or anything is going to shape the way that you experience it. So like, number two, like this session is designed to really spur you on to continue learning in the field and then the commercial field or whatever field you go into. So I just really want to lay some groundwork and make sure that you feel good about going on those next steps. So let's talk about some considerations. This is in the course, but I'm just going to talk about it. How many of you have a printed copy of the CCPIA ComSop? Like here or at home? Okay, that's a pretty good number. Are they still giving them away? Rob wasn't. I'm sure they got all kinds of stuff at the table. It's on like the far right row when you go in the room. Get a copy of that. Check this out. When we talk about the ComSop, section 6.5.13, cooking area is what it's called in the ComSop. Basically, A through J has to do with the hood, and K and L have to do with the portable extinguisher and the manual actuation device. In other words, the whole of the ComSop in regards to cooking area is about fire safety. So we say in the course, the parts that touch directly on that are meant to illuminate it, and anytime you teach on something, you will necessarily go outside the scope in some way. That's in order to illustrate what is in the scope. And how, so we might ask the question, how does a ceiling covering or lack thereof, how does a wall covering or lack thereof, how does the floor being busted or broken, how does that affect fire safety? It might not be directly related to fire safety, be one answer, but it might be related to human health if it's a floor covering we're talking about. These are the kind of considerations that the ComSop gives us. So when we're looking at a commercial kitchen, we want to really have particular eyes toward life safety and fire protection. By the way, I've said this before in other training, I've said this many times, your duty to neighbor love is higher than your duty to your client. So if you feel that something is unsafe, like for another human being, that's of a higher order than your report. So when I come across stuff in a home or commercial property that really troubles me, I'm going to make sure that I'm talking to somebody about it, whether or not it's in the report, whether or not it's relevant to the report. You might be the only person that goes in that space for quite some time, is my point. You might be the only outside person who has a different perspective on whatever you see going on there for quite some time. So the focus of the scope is fire safety. A through J are exhaust and ductwork. K and L are fire extinguishing devices. That's one way to hang your hat on it. So if you have your paper here, you might want to mark it that way. Anytime I sit down with a new piece of material, this happened with this course, this happened when I learned ASTM, CCPIA, home inspection, I get out colored pens and I make myself sit with that piece of paper for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Jim's seen my colored pens probably in my bag. And I work on it. So anytime you take a class, anytime you work on something new, I have a video about this, but be sure to update your templates, be sure to update your materials, be sure to make yourself better that way as you learn. Don't just sit here and just take it in and kind of let it hit you. There's parts that it should, you're just thinking. But then when we get to application, you want to actually be updating your template. Specific. If you have a commercial inspection template that doesn't have commercial kitchens in it, you need to start that heading in your report and have at least A through L as your checkboxes if you're inspecting according to the ComSop. That's really simple. The rest of the stuff that's today and in the online course, you can add those as you will. It's up to you. Okay? I have a whole checklist, all the defects that are in the course. And they're actually checkboxes because that's how it's supposed to be used. You might even want to laminate it front and back and just take a dry erase marker. Take a picture of it when you're done, erase it. Then you don't have to print extras.